Hello, everyone. This is me, Stephen Kim of Healthy Expressions, and this is my first webinar on relationships and marriage. So please bear with me if sometimes things don't work out or something doesn't go as planned. I'll be totally honest. I'm not as techie like these other people on Facebook or streaming or on other social media platforms, but the content I believe is the best, and it's very practical and it helps you if you use it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen. Right, I'm going to share a screen. And we're going to go. And I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you're probably busy, but this webinar will be on this Facebook page like forever. So if you can only get a glimpse of it, or if you, don't have the chance to watch it now, you can watch it later. I would really recommend and ask you to, to comment and to share. Because right now, as you see in this image, I love slideshows. If that was a job, I would do that forever, is to make slideshows for companies and people. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I just like doing it. But as you know, that there's a lot of couples, a lot of marriages, and the statistic is, 50%, that marriages end up in divorce. And especially now, there's more pressure because of COVID. I've been married for 22 years. And just to, tell you a little bit myself, been married for 22 years, happy. Sometimes it's rough. And, I've been doing premarital and marriage counseling for about 17 years. And most of the couples, I would say majority, I would say about 95, 99% of those couples are doing well in their marriage. So I'm kind of happy about that. But as you know, it is challenging today, not only with, that you're busy, that you have not only a marriage and maybe kids and a job, a career that you're striving for, and then the daily responsibilities at home. It's a lot. And on top of that, we're on COVID. And I love my wife, but, being around her 24/7, there have been moments of stress, been moments of just arguments and disagreements, because people are different. You have to realize that you are different from your spouse. And I know that a lot of people, and I tell this when I do premarital counseling, that the peak of your romance will be on your wedding day, because that is the only time that you'll get to dress up, invite your loved ones, family, friends, have, a 7-course, 5-course meal. There'll be romantic music, that the ambiance will be just amazing. But what happens after that? And I really think that a lot of people are not working on their marriage. You have to work on your marriage every day. If you don't, then because over time you change, your partner, your spouse changes. And so if you don't work on it while you're changing, you'll get a lot of disagreements, you get a lot of fighting. You will get a lot of opportunities of just thinking, who is this person? Because people change. And so you and your spouse need to adapt together in making the marriage work, because the marriage changes over time. It changes and it has to adapt. And so please stay with me, and we're going to go through this. I don't want to take too much time. I don't want to be those people yappy by just telling you the information. So like I said, marriage is hard work, and there are many things that you can do to enhance the odds of success. So the little things matter. So excuse me, people think that, it's these big things. Well, these little things add up to the big thing or leads to the big thing. So in order for you not to hit those big arguments on those big issues, you have to work on the small issues on a daily basis. So I'm going to go through these 15 tips for a happy marriage. I think a couple of days ago, I did a short preview. I did the first three, and we'll go over them. So if this image resonates with you, like millions of couples out there, pay attention. So 15 tips for a happy marriage. 1, keep your commitments. It doesn't matter, like I said, that you promise to take out the trash, pick up the dry cleaning, or be home by 7, right? You do it. Because it's annoying to your spouse, and they may not say something at the moment, but when the next time a big argument blows up, that's going to come out. Because you didn't deal with it. You didn't deal with that small issue. You didn't communicate and talk about it. So you kind of push it aside, and it comes out and blows up later on. Also, excuse me, I'm not sick or anything like that. Allergies, and also in the morning, mouth is very dry. So bear with me as I drink water. It's not vodka or anything like this, it's water. So we said if you don't keep your commitments, then they won't say anything, but it will lead to a big explosion later on, and it'll come out because you didn't deal with it. You didn't deal with those issues. And then to that other person, when you don't keep your commitments, they may think eventually, because you're consistent in not making these small commitments, they're maybe thinking maybe they're not committed in the bigger commitments, like our marriage. Stop to think. Again, these small little commitments that you break, it's showing the other person maybe you don't care about these small commitments. And maybe you don't care about these big commitments. So please keep your commitments. What you say, you will do. Number 2, leave the past alone. Bringing up mistakes from the past only reopens old wounds. And when you bring up the past, you know what you're saying? You are saying, I haven't really forgiven you. And I hate that saying. I've forgiven you, but I haven't forgot it. I've forgiven you, but I haven't forgot it. Right? It means I haven't really forgiven you. Or, if issues come back from the past, it means that you and your spouse have not taken the time to communicate and deal with it. Because I believe that couples, I believe that with anyone and with any couple, that as you learn from your mistakes, if you're keen enough and wise enough, you'll learn from your mistakes. So when a couple argues and fights, they'll learn from that and they'll realize, I won't do that again. But because it's not talked about, it's not dealt with at the time, it's stored up to become a big explosion later on. Number 3, avoid interrupting your partner. Take a deep breath, listen until your partner is finished. Don't you hate that when you try to say something to your partner, your spouse, and they keep on interrupting you, right? That's not going to work, because you're telling them, my issues are more important than yours. My interrupting you is bigger than what you have to say. So subconsciously, your spouse will say, you know what? They don't care. He doesn't care, or she doesn't care what I have to say or feel. This is why, and this is kind of cheesy, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. We need to listen. We need to hear what that other person is saying. And I really believe men and women, if you didn't realize this, men and women are different. They communicate differently. They listen differently. And majority of the time, women are very keen on communicating well and listening. It's the guys, it's me, that I'm not able to communicate it in a positive way and to listen, to really listen to what you're saying. So we said, keep your commitments, leave the past alone, and avoid interrupting your partner. The fourth is be grateful. And I know it's hard. It's really hard when you're fighting all the time. And you forget that you love that person. See, I believe that people, even though they're fighting and the marriage is rocky, they still love each other. It's underneath a lot of stuff like career, responsibility at home, kids. And they, because they have not worked on it, worked on their marriage, they feel like the love is gone. The love isn't gone. The love is still there. It's just buried underneath a lot of stuff. And we need to unbury it and rediscover that love again. And here's a practical thing, one little practical thing. Maybe you should get a small piece of paper and just write 3 things that you appreciate about the other person. Like, yeah, they make the coffee, or they make sure that the garbage is taken out. Just little things. Write 3 things on a piece of paper to kind of remind yourself that they're not so bad. They're not the enemy. And that you can look at those 3 things and say, okay, he or she is, I'm grateful for these 3 things. Here's another number thing. 5th thing, to make sure that you have a happy marriage is to do something fun together. And I know that a lot of times life is crazy. Kids, and if you have small kids, I understand. I have 2 teenage boys right now where I want to, right now. But when they were kids, life seemed like a blur, right? Please do something fun together. Spend time together, sitting down, not watching something, not watching TV or a movie or a show, because there's no communication, there's no interaction. Everyone is facing the screen. They're not talking with each other. They're not talking about little things and having communication and laughing. So do something together that's fun with the whole family. And if a lot of times we want to do what makes us happy, activities that make us happy, but why don't you say, hey, hun, babe, whatever you call her or him, what do you want to do together to have fun? And if you have kids, what can we do together so that the whole family can have fun? Because when you stop doing things together, fun things together, you forget the other person is the love of your life. Because life gets in the way. So do something fun together. Number 6, avoid keeping score. This is a huge one. This is connected also with number 2, leave the past alone. Again, if you keep on bringing stuff up that they did wrong or made a mistake 2 years ago, it means you haven't forgiven them. And if you haven't forgiven them, you're not going to move forward in the relationship. Your marriage will not mature and grow, right? It's like your marriage is like a plant. If you don't feed it, if you don't water it, if you don't give it the nutrients and the sunlight, it's gonna die. And if you keep on keeping score and say, you know what, you did this again, or last month I tried to work on our marriage, but you didn't, that doesn't help. See, it's funny when people say, our marriage or a relationship is 50-50. It's not. That's the wrong concept to believe. Marriage isn't 50-50. It's 100-100. 50-50 is, well, I'm going to go 50% and you come the other way. Well, if the other person only comes 35%, you get annoyed. Or you use that 50-50 concept to saying, well, I'm coming halfway, and you're guilting the other person to come the other half. But the 100-100 concept of marriage and relationships is that I will love you unconditionally. I will go all the way because I love you. And when that other person sees you going all the way and no strings attached, not to guilt them, but that you just love them, that of course they're going to respond by coming the other 100% as well. So avoid keeping score. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. Number 7, let go of the small matters. Again, I said very earlier in the webinar that it's the small things that build up to lead to the bigger things. Let go of the small things. Yeah, maybe he leaves the seat up. Or maybe she always forgets her wallet in the car and she always asks you to go get it. Do not let these small annoyances get to you. Let it go. Let it go. Because if you have an argument and you say, well, you didn't leave the seat down after you went to the bathroom, or I'm tired of why don't you remember to bring your wallet or your phone from the car? And these little things keep on jabbing each other and jabbing each other and jabbing each other. It never ends. So for a happy marriage, let go of the small matters. Next, give your partner some privacy. And if you can't, then there is an issue of trust. Right? And trust is an essential part of any relationship, especially in a marriage. You need to give them space. You need to say, you know what? Of course, they shouldn't go out every weekend with their girlfriends or boyfriends or their bros, but you need to say, fine, go out with them, have fun. That you're not clingy to them and that you trust them. And on top of that, that if they shouldn't have, and this is another side thing with 8, I should call it 8A, that they shouldn't have opposite sex good friends. Now, some of you watching this and say, well, my husband does and my wife does. And men and women cannot be friends, right? Because there is some attraction. And there is a thing called emotional adultery. That after you have a big blowout with your spouse and your marriage is not going well, guess who you're going to talk to? Maybe the secretary at the office or your coworker that you work with. And he seems very nice. He always wants to listen and talk. You give your spouse trust until they break it. But that doesn't mean that you get a divorce, but that means that you work on to rebuild that trust. Number 9, address behaviors, meaning don't talk out of emotion or feeling. Avoid attacking your spouse. It's more effective to request that your spouse put her dirty dishes in the sink than to ask her why she's such a slob. Do you see that difference? Honey, can you please put the dishes in the sink rather than why are you such a messy slob? See that difference? Address the behavior and not attacking your spouse. Address the behavior and avoid making personal attacks. Don't talk through emotions, but through facts. Number 10, have a planned date night. This is different from previously. Previously was, do something fun together with the family. You need to go on a date with your spouse. Doesn't have to be every week, but once a month. And I know because of COVID, people say, well, I can't go to restaurants, I can't go in crowded. But you know what? It doesn't have to be a restaurant. I'm asking you to take 2 hours of your weekend or when you have time to go to a park, go take a walk, just you and your spouse. If your kids are old enough, hopefully they won't damage the house if they're left alone. If they're young, then you ask someone that you trust to watch the kids. But you have to have a planned date night or date day, right? That you're doing something together, just alone. And when you're doing something, just you and your spouse, you don't talk about the issues. You don't talk about the stresses. You talk, how are you doing? What's going on? What's the stresses at your work? Or, did you set some new goals in your career, set some new goals in your life? Get to know them again. Because again, over time, people change. And if you're not asking them what's going on and listening to them, then one day they'll be strangers. They say that the marriage statistic of divorce years ago used to be, late 30s, early 20s, around there. Now it's later, late 40s, 50s. People are getting divorced later because they focus all that time and attention on the kids. They love the kids. They drive them around practice to practice. They focus on the kids, and they forget to focus and work on their relationship with their spouse. So after all the kids are gone, they're left alone in the dining room eating their dinner, and there's no conversation. And they don't know who is the person across from them. They're strangers. So have a planned date night. Because a date means I'm thinking about you. I'm focused on you. I appreciate you. 11, be respectful in public. And this is a huge one. And for you, and I'm, men and women are, they both have tempers, but more for the men here, okay? We have tempers. I'm not saying women don't, but men, a lot of times we have a disagreement or argument, and then we ridicule and insult our spouse in public. That does more greater harm than anything. You're embarrassing her, or you're embarrassing him. You're disrespecting her. You're disrespecting him. Be respectful to your spouse in public. If there is an argument arising, you say, we're going to talk about this later in private. And here's another thing. The holidays are coming around. You'll be around family, hopefully. When you argue in front of your family, you may say, oh, they I know them, we're comfortable with them. That also is a big X, a red light, a red flag, whatever you want to call it. Because you are disrespecting your spouse in front of your family. And they are disrespecting you in front of his or her family. No one wins when you argue and disagree in public. Number 12, ask yourself what you can do to strengthen the relationship. What you can do to strengthen the relationship. The only thing that you are in control of, the only thing that you have control is not your spouse, but you. Right? You can't control the other person. Even though you want to control the other person, you can't. The only person that you can control is yourself. So in order for you to strengthen the relationship, you have to correct some things about you. Right? So ask yourself what you can do to strengthen the relationship. Is it to be more patient? Is it to talk more? Is it to Hire a relationship marriage coach. Number 13, focus on the positive. Some relationship experts believe that divorce results from a decrease in positive events rather than an increase in negative events, right? In a lot of marriages, encouragement is lacking. Encouragement is lacking in marriages. And just a few simple words help affirm the other person, right? It's people think our marriage is on the rocks because of these huge fights or huge disagreements. It starts with the small little things. And rather than saying negative and sarcastic things to each other, that you start to say positive, affirming, encouraging things to the other person, that will slowly shift and change the marriage into a better light. So focus on the positives. 14, give at least 5 compliments for each criticism you give. Social scientists believe that each criticism requires 5 compliments to undo the damage. So you say something nasty to him or her, and social scientists said that you need 5 compliments and encouragements to then negate that one nasty thing that you said to them. And if you've been over the years saying nasty, sarcastic things to your spouse, it's going to take a long time for those wounds to heal, for the other person to forgive you. And you can start by giving them compliments. I'm not saying blowing sunshine up there, but saying, when was the last time men, husbands, to saying, thanks for cooking dinner. That was, you outdid yourself this time. That was a great dinner. Or you wife telling your husband, thanks for helping bringing the groceries in from the car. Or thank you for, fixing that loose shower curtain. Give these compliments to encourage the other person. And lastly, 15, realize that your spouse isn't responsible for your happiness. Now, they are a source of they should be a source of your joy, but that marriage is not supposed to ultimately make you happy. Because marriages are like this, right? Up and down, up and down. So that means that you're riding that marriage to make you happy or sad or miserable. That's too much pressure on your spouse. They should be your joy. You should, be happy and fulfilled. But your marriage, you should not be leaning on. And maybe if you are, maybe there's something that you need to get right inside of you in your life. Because isn't it great to have 2 independent people coming together, working together on a marriage, rather than one of the spouse being very dependent on the other. You have 2 independent people, healthy, coming together, building a healthy marriage. See, I believe that that the marriage is an indicator of what's wrong, not only in the relationship, but with both parties, with the wife and the husband. And it's funny how people have not made a priority on their marriage. It's like having a car. You buy a brand new, it's beautiful. And for me, I love that smell of a new car. You go inside, I want to close the doors, and I don't want to open the windows. I don't want that fresh car smell to go out. I love that. But over time, if I don't wash it, wax it on the outside, clean it on the inside, make sure that checkups, oil changes, to make sure to give it the best gasoline, to do whatever I can to protect it. If I don't do those things, one day I'll wake up and I'll go to that car and it's a clunker. You're looking at your marriage and You're not happy, the other person isn't happy, and there's a lot of things going on. It just hurts. And it's because you haven't worked on your marriage. And on top of that, you haven't worked on yourself to better yourself for that other person. And so I was tired of just statistic and hearing from my neighbors and some of my friends that they're just unhappy in their marriage, and it's just on and on and on. And anyone can point out all the things that are wrong. It's the very few people who want to make a difference and say, I want to change that. I want to change that. I want to help married couples to go from unhealthy to healthy, one couple at a time. And this is the kicker, is that I think on this post is my website. I want you to look at it. And when people will look at it, and I'm going to tell you, some couples think we only need a couple sessions, then our marriage is fine. That is false. I'm working with a couple right now, and they told me they thought that we only have to take 2 or 3 sessions and everything will be good. And after the first session, they realized that was false. They realized that it's going to take a long time because they've neglected their relationship and they've neglected to improve themselves. And 2 or 3 sessions is not going to cut it. I'm being honest. I'm not a good liar. Okay. You can ask my wife of 22 years. I can't lie. But if you really value something, you will put your resources, you will put your time and effort into it. You will put your resources, your time and effort into it. So I created a 16-step to a healthy marriage. Now, if some of you are thinking about that 16 steps, that's a long time. At least 4 months, right? Because you've neglected your marriage for years. You haven't improved yourself for years. You haven't worked on your marriage for years. You can't think that only a couple of sessions would magically heal years of neglect, mistrust, emotional hurt. That's not possible. If I can do that, wow, I'm a miracle worker. But to be honest, because we have to dig in both the spouses, dig in the marriage, find that love, clean it out, and bring it forth. And my ultimate goal is not to just give information, but transformation. My result is not to give these couples a lot of information, but to give them tools to transform their marriage, transform themselves, to be in a healthy marriage. So in our sessions, I'm not just going to give them information and that's it. I'm going to give them homework. I'm going to give them homework that they have to do. And if they don't do it, I'm going to tell them, you're messing up. You're not doing what you need to do. And here's the thing. The 16 steps package of going to a healthy marriage, there has to be accountability. And if they put in and buy this package, that's going to keep them accountable. They're not going to just throw money out the window and say, I'm not going to take it seriously, but that's going to be a commitment on their part. Also that, there are health coaches, right? What are the best health coaches? It doesn't mean that they have to demean you and say, oh, you've got to work out and stuff like that, but they really help them and they're on top of them. As a relationship and marriage coach, that's my job, to make sure that you are doing what you need to do as we go through these 16 steps. So check out my website. If you have any questions, I think there is my number, there is my email, but I would love to hear from you guys. Again, like, share to someone that you know that might need this. Comments, please, positive comments. I don't want any nasty comments and stuff like that, because what does that do? And that proves to me that that person is very unhappy, that they don't have a lot of joy in their life. But I want you to check out my website. Talk to your spouse if this is really convicting you in that direction and you want to improve your marriage. And again, it could be engaged couples, it could be people who just recently got married, or people who have been married for decades. We need to work on our marriages every day, and it's not easy. And I'm going to tell you up front, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be tears, there's going to be, anger. But if you trust me in this journey with you and with your spouse, by the end of that time, the marriage will be a lot healthier. So I just want to thank you again for joining me. I thank you for taking the time to watch this. I'm going to try to do these webinars on a consistent basis. I don't know if I could do it every week, maybe every other week or whatnot. But this was a joy. I love doing this. I love helping couples. I love giving them advice and practical tools to help them. So enjoy today, enjoy this weekend, and work on your relationship today. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.